All right, here we go. Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I am with Collin and his son Shane. They're from CryptoCoinGrowth.com. And we're just going to have a fireside chat talking a little bit about this and a little bit about that. Maybe cover some current events. But first, I wanted to give you guys a chance to introduce yourself to everybody. Let them know a little bit about you, maybe how you got into Bitcoin and how that led to what you're doing now in the industry.
My name is Collin, and this is my son Shane.
Hello.
We pretty much got into Bitcoin when he was in high school. So, a while ago. He's 20.
I'm 21
now.
Yeah, I think
So,
it's been maybe like 6 years or something like that.
Yeah. So it was a while. He came up to me and said, "Hey, there's this Bitcoin thing. It was like $10 at the time." And he's like, he had $100, and he's like, "Do you think I should invest in them?" I'm going, if you want, I think at the time we were talking about Mt. Gox, because they had Magic. You could actually trade Magic cards. So we were actually building a Magic card server.
Yeah, Mt. Gox is actually an acronym for that. Magic, the game online exchange.
Yeah, and people don't realize that they started from the card trading.
Yeah.
So then they transitioned into Bitcoin. So we've been doing it way before people even know this shit even existed. But it was really kind of fun. But we didn't really get into it too much, and I didn't really start mining or investing into it probably till about 2015, just because we were dabbling back and forth. And after Mt. Gox crashed, we're like, that kind of sucked because you couldn't even buy it. You couldn't even sign up anywhere here in the United States. So at the time, we were just like, everything's kind of on hiatus. And I'm a developer, so I had other things to do anyways.
But I was going to college.
Yeah, and he was going to college. So eventually, I think in 2015, I bought Bitcoin when it started going up around 250. And so I'm like going, oh, this is cool. I'll buy some of this and see how it goes. Of course, then I sold it at 600. I'm like, yeah, man, I kicked ass. And that's fucking stupid.
Well, I mean, you did in short term.
Last time, I think it was like last January, I bought Ether. I think I had like $12,000, and so I threw it into Ether at $9. And so it grew up like really fast, and I'm like, man, this is bitching. So I started selling it off and just started trading, and that grew into just about everything that I have. And we have like a couple mining facilities that we had built out right now, and our mid-size is going pretty huge, and we're planning a huge facility here in the next year. But we're doing that, so everything's kind of like falling together in pieces. But it's really kind of interesting, the struggles along the way. I've been full crypto probably for about 8 months. I have another development business, but I really don't take money from that business. Everything I take is from my crypto, and
Nice.
I trade it. And even, it's funny because if you just ask, you'll be so surprised on how many people are involved in crypto or want to be involved in crypto. So my HVAC guy, my air conditioning guy, he's like, what is he? He's not Russian. He's Ukrainian. So he's Ukrainian. He's like going, yes, this is Bitcoin. And I said, hey, would you want to do an exchange? You put air conditioning in, I'll give you some Bitcoin. He's like, yeah, that sounds good. So already I have my HVAC, all my electrical that I'm doing in my place in excess of probably $80,000 to $90,000 is all being paid by crypto.
Wow, man, that's awesome.
So it's really cool, to be able to find groups of people. But this is the way it was back then, way back when you started bartering in businesses and stuff like that. You just have to ask, and people will be more, apt to, get involved in it. And, but then you have to worry about, taxes and blah, blah, blah. And I recommend anyone that's making more than a couple grand a year, go talk to a tax attorney, because they'll kind of clue you in, and they'll kind of give you a veil of protection between you and the ever-changing fucking rules that the government has. Of like, no, you're security. Well, no, you're not security. No, it doesn't. You don't have to claim it unless it's fiat. But no, now we're going to tax you on every gain you make.
Yeah, every crypto trade to trade.
And it's like going, yeah, we run a robot. We have a couple robots that we run, and I'm like going, if we had to pay for every trade, that's like insane.
Yeah, it would definitely make you reconsider a bunch of trades you may have otherwise made, and made some, but not as much to pay that I mean, what's that? 36% they won on each trade, right?
Yeah, it's something stupid.
It's a lot.
You know, and beside too, you know, it kind of pushes people away from doing business with the United States. Most of my trading, I trade, you know, in Binance or Cryptopia, which is like a New Zealand company. You know, hit BTC. You know, I mean, you kind of want to stay away from Bittrex and Poloniex and even GDAX, because they're all regulated and they can be just, you know, kind of throw that shit in your face any chance they get, and you have to comply to their rules.
Yeah, exchanges do that all the time.
What's that?
Exchanges change their rules all the time. Next thing you know, you can deposit and withdraw money, but next week they're going to change the deposit amount or the withdrawal amount, and now you have to go through a KYC process to withdraw your tokens off that exchange. I was like, I was using you because there was no KYC. So that's why I like Binance personally. There's no KYC up to 2 Bitcoin a day. And that's beautiful. That's a perfect amount.
That's pretty generous.
Yeah, and that's pretty generous. I mean, I have accounts at Poloniex, and also my Bittrex account. I have 100 Bitcoin a day, you know, limit on it. But I opened my account a year and a half ago. So when it was just like a bunch of people getting together and we're like, yay, you know, I remember Poloniex had their stupid little troll box and everyone's like going to the moon with, you know, Ripple.
I miss that troll box so much, man. So much.
It was so fun, you know, because you just sit there and like going, okay, everyone ready? I think they would pump Ripple like 3 times a day. And, you know, because everyone refers to these things as shit coins. I'm like, I made a ton of money on Ripple and Stellar and recently Bitcoin. You know, I mean, it just got pumped the other day and people were like, what? I woke up in the middle of the night for some reason, and I'm like looking at my phone. I text him going, dude, look at Bitcoin. And I'm like going, I think I had like $250,000 Bitcoin that I bought for like $300 back in November. And I'm like, oh, I sold it. I made like $4,000.
Right. It went up to what, like 11 cents or something? Was that the one?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is on Binance, it showed that up to 20 cents. When I sold it, it was 19 cents. So I got on the really high candle, then it fucking just dropped, and now it's like penny
2
again.
cents. Yeah, it's 2 cents a penny again. I was just posting that on my Instagram. I was telling people, I was like 0 to 100 real quick when they listed it, and then the very next day I was like, well, that didn't last too long.
Well, and the funny thing is, this time last year around March and April, like Poloniex, every day there was at least 4 or 5 coins that would happen to. It was not uncommon for things to go up 200%, like on, oh, it's like lunch, you know. Or when China got on the market, it was like around 8:30, 9 o'clock. Next thing you know, that something got pumped like really high, and then it just crashed, and it was like, woohoo, you know, you bought and sold, and me, it wasn't even about money at that point. It was about how many coins you have. And it's like going, okay, I have a 10,000 threshold. I have a 50,000. Here's 100,000. And then there's a few, like you have millions of like Doge. And at the time I had millions of Stellar and stuff like that because they were less than a penny. I mean, like a tenth of a penny. So it was cool. I mean, you know, of course you wish you had sold all.
Right. I accidentally made a pretty good amount of money off of Ripple because I like to say accidentally bought thousands of them when they were like 3 cents because I was making a YouTube video. And then next thing you know, I kind of see this on CNBC, Ripple at 350. And I'm like, I think I have some of that crap. And I went online and I looked and I was like, I do have some of that crap. So I did a live video where I'm like, guys, I'm selling it. I think it was at like 370 something.
That's amazing.
And I was like, I'm selling all of my Ripple. This is a shit coin, the best opportunity right now to take profit. Unless Coinbase comes out tomorrow and says they're listing it, you'll never have this opportunity ever again. And I sold it, and everybody thought I was like a prophet. I was like, nah, it's just called common fucking sense, guys. You know, the rumor was really big.
It is profit. It's like, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, Ripple's a project that's been around, and what people don't realize, Ripple's been around longer than blockchain. Ripple was put into the banking systems or developed for the banking systems for trading and changing money of hands, you know, from this country to that country. Then eventually it went into the blockchain, but didn't do how it was supposed to. That's why it split off into Stellar.
Right.
And so there's a lot of things that I like both projects. Whether it's centralized or decentralized, I don't fucking care. I like the utility. I like the utility part of it, to where what people don't realize is you have a banking system that's been around for eons. And in order for them to release their clutches on this death grip that they have of control, you have to provide them a transition. Ripple's a transition. Just
it's
like
the middleman.
You know,
it's not going to be around forever.
Yeah, and Stellar's going to be a transition. American Express is already using it in development right now. So there's a lot of things that are going to be used that people just don't realize. They see the monetary fact of it, but they don't look into the utilitarian fact and maybe the news or things that are being involved. U.S. Treasury, that was one of the things last year, the U.S. Treasury, I think back like in February or March, the U.S. Treasury put out that they were developing with Ripple. And so they were testing it and doing their stuff and going, and then it kind of like drowned off and like went away.
I think the argument a lot of people have that are crypto enthusiasts is not that it's just centralized, but that the cryptocurrency isn't technically used within the Ripple protocol. So saying that you're partnering and using Ripple technology doesn't necessarily mean you're actually using the cryptocurrency. So that's the argument a lot of people have is like, oh, you're scamming, whatever, because people be like, oh, I just partnered and we're using Ripple. And then people go and say, buy XRP. I'm like, but using XRP has nothing to do with using that protocol. So that's where people get their mixed emotions with it. Yeah. And I do see it as that middleman that's just evil enough, but just enough on our side to incept
it's a necessary,
them.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil at this point because there's going to have to be a transition, and we can't rely on the banks to make their own transition. Everyone's going to realize real quick, and I've been saying this to my son for the past couple of years, when shit hits the fan, the people that have put their foot in the fucking cement years ago are the ones that are going to last. The rest of the people are going to be, eliminated because it's going to move so fast. I mean, it's like I equate it to where, a long time ago because I'm a hardware guy also, so we used to build computers and things like that. The memory game and also with hard drives, it was so damn fast where all of a sudden you're like going, oh, I just paid, $300 for 3 megs of RAM. It was amazing. And then next thing you know, a week later, it's like, it's obsolete.
Started happening with televisions recently, 2K, 4K, 8K.
Exactly. So those are the type of things, and it's really kind of exciting to be a part of this, development. And it was neat for us because we've been doing it for years, just kind of sitting back. And I told him, I said, just let's eat fucking popcorn. We're like watching everyone just go fucking ape shit. And I've had friends going, yeah, the Bitcoin, we bought it at like 18,000. I'm like, oh.
Seeing politicians trying to make sense of how to regulate it, how to put it in a cage. We're
like, well, you're not going to do it.
In itself.
No. I wanted to bring up a first talking point here because right now, this is a great segue actually, we're having sort of, it seems like it could be the end of or the beginning of the Bitcoin versus altcoins war. Is it just starting to end or is it just starting to begin?
Well, you know what? There's this, tie to Bitcoin and altcoins. The way it used to be when Bitcoin was suffering like a stepchild, the altcoins would like take off. Mm-hmm. But then there's sort of that balance now, and I think Coinbase had a lot to do with this too, because so many people came into it and they introduced Litecoin, Ether, and also Bitcoin. Those things that actually come into the marketplace, and then they're like going, okay, well, I want to buy into this, and well, I'm safe with these, but those are still altcoins. So if you look, and I was showing him the other day, normally if you see Bitcoin started to go up, Ether and Bitcoin and also Litecoin, they would kind of like fall a little bit, but now they're all like in sync. And so it's really kind of strange to me when altcoins and Bitcoin are in sync, it's a dangerous market. When altcoins and Bitcoin are on its separate, paths, that's a very healthy market. If you see 50% red, it's a good day, But if everything's green and it's green for 2 days, you better sell your ass because the next 3 days are gonna like pummel, and then you can buy it back. But those are the kind of things that we can kind of regulate before. But now that they're kind of in sync, everything is kind of like when Bitcoin falls, everything just like gets hammered. And I think that's because before, how many people were in on it? I think at one time you look at Poloniex, there was like 50,000 people at a time when Poloniex was a player. It actually, you can kind of gauge how the market was going by those people. Now it's like everyone would get crashed. This site crashes. Binance removed registration because too many people. Yeah. Coinbase started crashing. So millions of people started getting into this marketplace, and they knew not what the hell they were doing. And so they were going, oh yeah, it's just money. Put it here and it just makes money. It's like going, well, no, dude. It's like, it doesn't work
that way. But John McAfee told me to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. I watched YouTube and Trevon said buy this.
Yeah, dude, it's supposed to give me 40%, no risks. What happened? I think Bitcoin's a scam. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that Bitcoin altcoin
it's a
thing. I mean,
Ponzi.
a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists, I feel like, are opening their eyes to other cryptocurrencies and the way they're being utilized. I don't want to see Bitcoin the only cryptocurrency running the
No,
only blockchain
That'd
with
be
smart
tough.
contracts. It would just not be cost effective for me and you. It would be institutionalized again.
yeah, but
I
the
like
thing
the
is too,
monopoly of
Bitcoin
cryptos.
isn't the only thing that's being utilized right now. I've been telling people this for, well, I don't know, the past year or so, is Bitcoin's going to become a unit of measurement. They try to like, oh, okay, let's put it on the Lightning Network. Let's try to do this. Let's try to do that. That's all really cool, but man, there are some bitchin', projects out there that will overtake it. When we were in London, we saw an advertisement that we posted on our Instagram, and it showed like going advertise here. We accept Electronium, Dash, this. So they were already accepting these things. I think there's this veil of I don't want to say ignorance, but just lack of knowledge here in the United States, that we only think that the United States is like the big guy. And we're not. We are so small. We're like 5% of this marketplace. Japan holds the majority of all coins in circulation right now, and with right for so you can go buy shit at their store with Bitcoin, and it's part of their system because they started early on. They understood early adoption. We're too busy fighting about wanting to still control it that we haven't realized that we should just throw our hands up and say, you know what, just fucking move forward.
Hmm.
And eventually that'll happen, but there's going to be a lot of pain along the way. I thought it would be a little bit longer, maybe another year, before the SEC came in and started cracking down and really started scaring people. Now, do they have a lot of power? Not really. Other countries and other projects we talk to that are in other countries, they're like going, we don't fucking care. We just won't do business with the United States. And eventually there's got to be some sort of control and some sort of like, okay, stop doing crappy ICOs and trying to stop swindle people out of money. But I'm sorry, dude, that's part of anything that grows.
Natural selection, man.
You have a new car out. There's going to be crappy cars that are just thrown. Look at the fucking Hyundai when that came out. I mean, it was $4,000 you can buy a car, but yeah, it was meant to break in like 2 years. Did they get scammed? Yeah, they got scammed, but the company made a boatload of money to project their business forward. It's part of any new industry, but you just have to be smart with it and know what you're buying into. It is a volatile market. Coins are volatile. Some are speculative, some are already in use, some are already in projects, some are backed by countries like Icon. Icon is backed by South Korea. I talked to Min, which was one of the lead developers of Icon out in Santa Clara, and he's like going, oh yeah, we've been doing this for 4 years, developing our own blockchain, and they are back. They have thousands of people backing it by their government, and they're like going, we're just waiting to start launching our own development and other coins. Anything that's going to be developed under Icon is going to be sanctioned by the country. So that's insane to me, because just like China with Neo,
Yep.
they're going to, you have Ontology, which just took off, which is built under Neo. So you have these projects that will eventually take off, but it's almost like they want to be a part of their own group. No, we want to have loyalty to China, so we're going to build under Neo. We want to have loyalty to South Korea, so we're going to build under this, under Icon. Here in the United States, we don't have anything because we're still trying to control shit, and we're gonna miss the fucking boat. We're FOMOing ourselves.
Yeah, you made me think of something that actually is pretty interesting. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it triggered a thought that there may be a border of intellectual entrance that may actually keep people that don't understand what they're investing in from making gains, because this is early investor opportunity. This is for the opportunists, and a lot of people that need this opportunity may not be intelligent enough to figure out what to or not to invest in. I try to tell people, like, sort of like microwaves. If you can figure out how to use a microwave without knowing exactly how a microwave does that job, you can figure out crypto. You can figure out how to use it without exactly how it works behind the hood. that's how I want people to start. I feel like it scares people off by us telling people, like, do your own due diligence. Some people are like, I'm stupid. Like, I got bad grades in school. I know I'm dumb. I can't do my own due diligence. I need to go to XYZ or just sit back and never participate.
And with that in mind, you know, a lot of people that are going to invest in it, you know, we're different in the United States and other countries. A lot of people actually turn to their country, you know, for that type of support. And so Korea, let's say I'm in Korea and I wanted to do that. Well, I'm going to turn to Icon and then follow that. I'll put more money into that to help my country become strong. Same thing with Thailand. Same thing with Vietnam. These countries that are smaller on the chain are going to have an equal stake eventually, because they're going to focus on themselves. It's almost like the decentralization of blockchain is going to force a certain amount of isolationism within their own countries. And so when they do that, they feel safe, and then they're just going to break out and then overtake, and which is fine. I'm totally cool with leveling the playing ground. You know, I don't want someone to have, you know, more money or this. We're too busy in the United States, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. We're too busy, like, we're fucking Scrooge McDuck, dude. We want to be able to hoard all of our coin and like going, no, we have to control it all. We have to do this. And that's not the point of what everyone should be doing. All the utility facts of what these projects are doing are for the masses. They're for the world. They're not for a specific country. They're not for a specific car developed in a county. That, you know, it's not that. It's for literally everyone.
And this is the first time we've had a tool designed for literally everyone.
Yes.
Usually there's only things designed specifically for niches or individuals or for this use case, but this technology is like water. It has so many use cases. Actually, Sheen, sorry, I wanted to get your take on this because you're more of the younger generation and may not have been brainwashed by the tax man yet. I was wondering what your opinion or maybe what you see the future as when it comes to taxes in a decentralized economy.
Well, I do see that just looking at a snapshot of what's already happening, how people are trying to bring this into a taxable sense. There is going to be a struggle, and I think it's not just a generational thing, but a regional thing as well. We live in the United States, and their take on crypto-related anything and taxing it, putting it together, it's a giant clusterfuck. Like trying to do anything with that, they go about it the wrong way, and it's not like they accept crypto to pay taxes. That would be phenomenal, but
they do that in Germany,
yeah,
and they do it in Sweden, and in here up to a couple months ago, I called before I got a hold of my tax guy, my attorney, and I called a couple places. Hey, I have a mining business, and I use I mine Bitcoin and we trade and blah blah. Oh no. Keep in mind, this is like 3 tax guys. These are people that have been around probably 20, 30 years. And they're like, no, we don't do that. It's illegal. I'm like going, what do you mean it's illegal? They're going, no, it's illegal. We're not going to do that. It's like gambling. And I'm like going, oh my God. I was like,
don't you pay taxes on gambling profits? I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, you should do that. It's actually kind of funny. You should call, go look in your local paper, your local phone book or whatever, or if you have a phone book, or Google it, and just say, you call some tax people and say, hey, what do you think about Bitcoin? I do this. Can you guys help me with my taxes? You'd be so surprised at people. And I get like a secretary or someone that's probably being paid like $15 an hour. They're like going, no. I'm sorry, we're in California, so she was probably Hispanic. So she's like, no, sir, we don't do that. It's illegal. And I'm like going, okay, goodbye.
I went to H&R Block to get my last income tax check done for my job before I quit. And I was talking to them about Bitcoin, and they were like, yeah, and I was just like, I'll let the IRS figure it out, because like you were saying, Shane, it's too complicated, man, and if you complicate things, you disincentivize people from participating. It's not like it's not like they're going to do the work for me and I just sign off on it. I have to do all the work and then pay for it. There is no incentivization for me to do all that work for you just to give you my money. It doesn't make sense. So here's my take on what the future may look like, and I wonder what you guys think. The taxing right now is involuntary. If you choose not to, they just take it out of your bank account. or they'll take it out of your paycheck because that's how the economy works. That's how money transfer works. But when you come to cryptocurrencies, you can't pull. I can only push. So they won't be able to take taxes from you. It would have to be voluntary. So it will be a completely different system. I think that we're probably going to see the IRS go the route of giant mining farms that are dependent on transaction fees on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, whatever is the most used coin at the time. So if I use Bitcoin to send you anything, they get a transaction fee. They're getting taxes and they get the mining reward. I kind of do feel like that's the only route because Bitcoin isn't going to conform to any regulation, period. So I think regulation is going to have to conform to the technology, which is unregulatable. So it's going to be one of those scenarios where it's not, you can't fight. You just can't fight cryptocurrencies. You have to join. And the only way to join is to be a miner. So I feel like the IRS is going to do one last tax thing where they build a giant mining farm with our money, solar powered, earth core, cooled, like Genesis has their thing going on. And I feel like that's how the future of it's going to look. I don't see any scenario where they could possibly threaten us enough in the majority of people with imprisonment for not giving them money. Like, they just demand it, we say no, and they imprison. We have gone to war for much less over taxes. I mean, dude, try to charge people for tea. Tax my tea, bro. Like, how do you think I feel about my crypto? I would damn well go to war over that. And I feel like that's the majority sense because people that pay taxes, we're tired of paying for politicians' beach houses. We're tired of having potholes on our roads that have been there for 5 years, but the mayor all of a sudden has a brand new Jaguar. Like, what the fuck is this? I think it's going to be a lot different in the future when I can say, all right, I'll pay my taxes, but I want 50% of it to go to this smart contract. That's going to reallocate my taxes to the education system. I want X amount of percentage of my taxes to go to this smart contract. It will help the homeless and the welfare system. I want to give to that system. I just want to make sure that the mayor ain't taking a 90% cut before you get your food stamps.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of Decred with their governance layer.
It's awesome, man. Definitely. Exactly like Decred, dude. Exactly. That's what actually really drew me to the tech. So I was wondering, do you think that that's a viable future for taxes, or is that just like some Bitcoin maximalist fever dream?
Well, I mean, I could see that coming to fruition. I don't know when or with what country. The United States just seems to be as it wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But
North Korea has announced that they are out of poverty because of mining crypto. Granted, they were stealing it from their citizens because that's how it works over there. Basically, anything that they were using the electricity for was like theft. But they were mining Bitcoin. And now North Korea is so confident in their place in the world, they're crossing borders to South Korea for the first time ever. And everyone's thanking Trump. I am thanking Bitcoin because they have openly said that mining Bitcoin has given them the confidence that they've needed financially.
Yeah, without the tool, that wouldn't have happened. And the thing is, I think with the United States, eventually, we're going to have to stop being the spoiled little child and look to other countries of how they're doing it and how they've already put crypto in terms of taxing. Like I said, in Germany, they'll let you pay in Bitcoin. They'll let you pay in Litecoin. And so they're going, cool. Now, would you think that they just go and put that in fiat? Hell no. They keep that stuff, and that's fine. They want to be a part of the game. There are countries that are being involved in this for sole purpose of it brings their country wealth. And eventually, way back when we used to, carry little pieces of gold around, and then we used to pay with that. Then it went to paper. Of course, it was a huge uprising. Why should we fucking pay with paper?
They actually made it a law. You had to give up your gold, and they would give you paper. If you did not, it was treason.
Exactly, and even at that,
and people are like, hey, I want all my representation back.
Yeah, here's my fiat. Can I cash this out now? And they're like, no. And if you try to, treason again.
Yeah. So I think eventually this is one of those things to where they don't control the rules and they don't control the outcome, and it's fucking pissing them off. And so they're trying to throw everything they can. The SEC is one of they're kind of like a ghost in the shadows where they're like, we're going to bring this out and scare the shit out of everybody. It's like, when, at the end of the day, we're crypto people. We're not like farmers. You know, we're crypto. We're IT people. So for the most part, we're smart as shit. You know, it's like when eventually we're just going, fuck you guys.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's like
This is smart
it's okay.
motherfucking money, man.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't have to worry about like, oh no, they're going to overtake the banking industry. No, we're not going to overtake it. The banking industry is going to be the horse and buggy of 100 years ago. You know, it's going to be able to transition out. Eventually, some people will still use it, just like some people still use, rotary dial phones.
I was going to say, fax machine is still in every Fortune 500 business. Every Fortune 500 business still has a fax machine. That doesn't mean that the internet has failed. Doesn't mean email has failed. It just means that it's technology, like you said, that will stick around. It's evergreen. Yeah. Banking is evergreen. Paper money is something that people are psychologically tied to, genetically even, almost. Have you seen the Bank of Polymorbid, where they're making paper wallets with NFC technology built into the paper wallet, and it's like Tyvek. You can't rip it, and it actually has like this weird tamper-proof seal, so you can peel it to sweep it to make it digital. You can throw the fiat away. There's so many things being done to Trojan horse this technology into the system that's currently established. But like you said, dude, it's scaring the crap out of them because they're all going to be out of jobs. The thing is, the moment they need to use the system, like one of us, the outsiders, not somebody from in the system, they'll realize how much better it works. But right now, they're inside the system. To them, the system works flawlessly because they are part of it. To say that the system sucks, that banking could get better, is to say that your job pretty much isn't very necessary, and some smart contract somewhere would probably do a better job at it. You'd basically be saying, I quit. Yeah, that's progress anywhere.
Yeah, if you think about it, if I buy a house, like right now I can go buy a condo in Thailand and pay Bitcoin, and if I go up there and I say, cool, I'm going to sit down and do my escrow. Here's this, transfer to this broker. He just signs all the papers. They transfer to him. It's done within that day, and then everything is all great. And I got what I wanted. I don't have to wait 30 days. I don't have to have this person pay their permits. I don't have all this crazy shit that are already in the system. It's not efficient. And the thing is, IT people are going to make things very efficient, because the more ways of failure that we have, the harder it's going to be. We're just not into failure, and so we eliminate all this. So here in the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of trimming of the fat. And when it comes to the technology that we have, it's going to become very finite. And that's great. It's all good for everybody. But trying to convince someone, it's like convincing a teenager. No, you probably should do this, or else, you're going to have a baby tomorrow, or some shit like that. Wear rubber, fucker.
Put money away for the future, stuff like that. Eat right, exercise. It all doesn't make sense until you're, hindsight's 20/20, man.
Yeah, when you're 60 years old, now your fucking teeth fell out and you have diabetes.
Right, exactly. That's when you're like, that would have been a good idea. All that risk and all that discomfort would have been worth the reward.
Yeah. And that's what this is. We have long-term and short-term ideas and philosophies. Most people do in crypto. There are people that are kind of have that day trader mentality, where they'll go in, they want to make their money and get out and go back to the regular job. But I think once they taste, the crypto, and they understand that the projects and the community that's involved in it, it's literally pulling yourself out of the matrix.
Right.
And once you're out, you're like going, I'm not gonna fucking go back there. I don't care if the steak tastes really good or the girl in the red dress. I want to have reality happen here to where I can change the world. And I believe the normal Joe or a country could develop something, and they have all rights to do it.
Right. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about centralized exchanges versus decentralized exchanges, and what your thoughts are on the dangers of centralized versus the dangers of decentralized exchanges.
Why don't you go talk about that, dude?
So, first of all, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm a big fan of BitShares. And,
okay, cool. Can you let people know a little bit about that? Because not too many people are keen on that.
Yeah, and that's actually a big thing with other forms of exchanges aside from Binance and Bittrex,
Coinbase, Kraken.
Yeah, well, Kraken's a good one. Mainly with the centralized exchanges, the ones that you heard about, they have a lot of volume and they have a lot of liquidity on their books that people are able to make pretty fast trades with. BitShares at this moment, which is a inherently decentralized exchange of assets and of BitShares in itself. So when you make an account or when you have a wallet with BitShares, essentially you're able to tap into the decentralized exchange where everything is done through delegates and just on the blockchain, and you can trade assets and represent stuff like BitUSD, which is the US dollar equivalent. You can represent gold, you can represent the euro.
So those are stable coins.
Yeah. They call them stable coins, and it's backed by BitShares collateral. And I'm a really big fan of that. And the decentralized part of it allows for a bunch of different parties to come in and to reduce counterparty risk and to sort of split the responsibilities that decentralized exchanges currently have into different peers. So with this with the centralized exchange, you have one entity that's maintaining the books. You have one entity that's maintaining IOU issuance, which when you trade stuff on exchanges, you aren't really trading those coins. They're just being held, and then you just get an IOU issued. All of this stuff is being maintained by a single person, and they are useful, but it's kind of ironic for stuff that's supposed to be so decentralized. The access point to a lot of this stuff is through one person most of the time, or one company. Where decentralized exchanges come in, they look to dispel that. And with them being, it depends on how decentralized they are. Like with BitShares, it's a lot harder to regulate something like that as opposed to something that's sort of partially decentralized. Like have you heard of like IDEX market for Ethereum token trading and stuff like that, where you're able to tap into the Ethereum ecosystem, but you still have to go through that website.
Yeah, it's another alternative than Ether Delta.
Yeah, but I feel like once BitShares or something equivalent to that is able to gain liquidity through increased volume and just increased activity, it'll become a real viable option for people trying to move away from having to worry about a wallet not being used on an exchange because it's under maintenance and you're waiting for deposits, and you're like, okay, come on, this is ridiculous.
So what do you think it's going to take to get those decentralized exchanges up and running and in the front lines, and putting those centralized exchanges kind of on the back burner? What's it going to take?
Well, I think what's more of a likely scenario is that they'll exist in tandem, because they both have benefits, advantages, and disadvantages to using both of them. I feel it depends on what the person that's trading, the investor, the trader, is really going for. If they're looking for if they're looking for an environment that doesn't really have all that centralized control and is able to, on a whim, disable something, without people knowing, without people having a say in it, then they'll go more of a decentralized route. If someone wants something that's easier to use and get a hang of, at least currently like decentralized exchanges is a little harder to wrap your head around. But using something like Coinbase or GDAX, what have you, those exchanges out there is going to be the route to go. I feel like decentralized exchanges will pick up the pace, especially with all this regulatory FUD and all of these developments coming out.
And I think that's going to be one of the big factors too. Is eventually when just like an angry bully, when they realize that they can't control it, they're going to try to make what they can control really fucking hard. So when they control, through regulatory, they control Coinbase, they control, Bittrex and Poloniex, because they're all U.S.-based, companies. When it gets so hard and it's like people have the fear, like with Coinbase, oh no, we'll never give up our shit. We'll so fight so hard. Oh yeah, fuck, here you go. Yeah. With that kind of stuff, it's like eventually the exchanges will do it, and then you'll be at the whim of all these crazy rules where people are going, fuck it, I'll just do stuff over here and I don't have to worry about it. And the only rule I have is how much money I want to make today, and then I just do what I want. But I don't have to, I don't want to be in fear of having them come and changing the rules
Right.
every chance that they get.
Or them trying to scrounge more personally tied information out of you just to,
Right.
up your limits for something.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's
like,
like out of
this-
nowhere
this
too. They
app-
do that. That's the thing though. The developers that build these centralized exchanges are crypto enthusiasts, and when these regulations try to damper what these developers are working on these centralized exchanges, I feel like that's where we'll see Poloniex developers, Binance developers, Kraken developers all come together to develop this one massive Satoshi-like decentralized exchange.
Yeah.
Because everybody working on those centralized exchanges, the regulatory system is going to come in and try to say you can and can't do this. When I built it, it's my baby. It's our baby.
Yeah.
You can't tell my baby not to grow up. No one puts baby in the corner. They're
Yeah.
going to go and make a decentralized baby and say, here you go. Be unstoppable, baby. And that's what would happen with a great decentralized. I love the concept of BNB, the coin for Binance.
Yeah.
Genius concept. The moment that coin came out, I made a video about it, bought hundreds of them. They were like $1 or something. I was like telling people, look guys, it's hard to explain, but it's a cryptocurrency exchange, cryptocurrency. Get it? The utility is to be traded. It is meant to be traded. It's a transaction fee, and you get rewarded for trading specific coins in and out for this specific coin. So if you're going to trade,
they actually, if you have it turned on or enabled, you pay half your fees.
Yeah, it's the thing. You're
if trading as
incentivized
much
to
as
trade
you-
on
So
it.
it's like it's a win-win.
Right, and I actually get my crypto dust because they have the referral program. So if you were to trade a random shitcoin, so to say, I get some of that, and I can choose to have that turned into BNB, and everybody has that. So the exchange itself is the ecosystem for the currency.
Yeah.
I love that, and I feel like when we find a decentralized exchange, it's going to have that plus that one missing feature that's going to keep it going. But that's what I think it's going to come down to.
Well, and also, you're dealing with Binance right now. They moved. They moved
Malta.
from they moved to Malta, and one thing that we found out when we were in London is the rules and regulations in Malta are not in stone yet, and so they're like going, sure, yeah, we'll do this and this, but it's not done. And so, but they wouldn't do that to themselves. A lot of people that we met, it's really kind of funny because a lot of them either talk about moving to Malta or another country or these really small. It's hilarious. They're little small islands.
Puerto Rico.
There's that one that we had that. What was that guy's name?
Oh, Nathaniel from IAME.
Yeah, IME or something like that.
I forgot what the island was called, but
it was a really small island.
It's close to Madagascar.
Yeah. It's off the Madagascar, and he's like, when we run our ICO out of there because it's a small place. They have no regulations. They actually talk to the government saying, yeah, don't worry about it. And they're like going, okay, we won't worry about it. Here's your fee.
Well, didn't Binance have the Prime Minister of Malta say, welcome to Malta?
Yep. And let me tell you, how often do you hear about Malta?
Right,
but now
exactly.
everyone talks about Malta. They talk about Georgia. There's a company called Ambit Mining. They built their entire industry. They have a 5 megawatt mining facility, and they're running an ICO that puts out for a 25 megawatt facility that they're doing. No tariffs, no taxes. No, nothing. It's so crypto friendly, and it's like 5 cents a kilowatt, in terms of electricity. So those type of things to where, it's the 99-cent store. Everyone's going, come to our, we're so much cheaper than that, and that's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to flock to these certain areas, and then those companies and those countries are going to become very rich and very powerful.
Yeah, there's going to be a paradigm shift of first world countries for sure.
Yeah, and meantime, we're sitting there holding our dick saying, no, we'll control it. Nope.
Not happening. Nope. Yeah, exactly. It's too big to be controlled. And that's what I think you're right. It kind of scares our government and the people of it that are kind of the brainwashed sheep of our country that are they believe so much in the dollar, but they don't know exactly how it works, what backs it, what is interest, what is inflation. They don't know none of that. They don't even care about it. They just blindly trust the money system. And then you come up to them and say, hey, look, this economic system, it just works better. And you explain every detail until they get it, and they're still stuck believing in that imaginary value of the US dollar. And they're afraid of the volatility of crypto. A lot of people are like, oh, crypto's too volatile. I was like, when has bread, eggs, or milk ever gone down in value?
Yeah.
When have you
Yeah.
ever paid less for any of that shit? Because I think, yeah, Bitcoin's volatile, but USD's volatile too, but only in one direction, downward.
Yeah, yeah. What's worse, volatile movements for potential gains, or like a constant steady decline?
Right, and then we're
Well,
talking about the
well,
U.S. dollar, which is pretty stable. Let's talk about Venezuela. Let's talk about Greece. Let's talk about
Yeah.
the Japanese yuan, the Chinese yen. That they know volatility firsthand.
Well, look at the real
It's a lot
estate
different.
industry. I mean, 10 years ago, the entire industry collapsed. The banking industry collapsed. And they're all worried about this big bubble that we have in the crypto. Fuck off. Every 10 years, real estate has a bubble and then it pops, and they know that's part of their
They build
process.
the bubble. It's part of the process. Exactly.
Exactly. We actually was talking to this on the way over here, too, is, that bubble is a part of process. And because you have your growth, it's like building that momentum up, and then it kind of pops and equalizes. But as long as your plateau doesn't go lower than it was before, you have a gain. Now it's not 2,000% gain, maybe it's like 18% gain, but that's still 18%. But a lot of people they think like, well, it's just crazy. It's too speculative and blah blah. Life is speculative.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of like take in terms of like, look, I want to take a chance of this. It's a risk. Otherwise, go crawl under a rock and just hang out and collect your paycheck, and then you'll go through all your motions, and then you'll die one day.
Those are the people that are still writing checks in the middle of like a supermarket. Those people.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are the only people that I feel like that, and they're still in abundance. I didn't realize this, but I'm still seeing people whip out checkbooks in supermarkets, and it makes me feel so bad for Bitcoin, because I think to myself, and I'm like, wow, this person's 70, maybe 80, still using a checkbook. Damn, by the time I'm that age, Bitcoin will probably be obsolete. And like, it makes me think of like, totally different aspect of like this technology, because I'm like, yeah, this is great until it isn't. And what is the next thing? And nobody's thinking about that in this community yet. But I do feel like when you do see that Bitcoin accepted sign at Walmart, that will be the start of the what's next conversation.
Yeah.
And who knows what that will be.
Well, here in Irvine, there is a liquor store that has a Bitcoin ATM. It's been here probably for about 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And I walked up to the guy and I said, how often does the people use that? He's like going, I don't know. One guy came in and put that in one day, and I don't even know what it does. So it's really kind of funny that technology is trying to be, put into these things, but the technology, and for some of us, it's moving incredibly fast. The rest of the people are standing still like rock. So it's fine.
The speed is a little
Eventually,
inconvenient though,
like
right?
clothes.
Like you said, it's moving really fast, so it's a little inconvenient. It's moving so fast, we're not getting the chance to adopt step by step by step.
Yes.
It's kind of like leaps and bounds in movements forward, and nobody's really used to that. We're used to very slow changes that happen so slowly, you actually don't even realize anything changed. It just did.
Well, let me tell you, I mean, I'm quite a bit older than you, but when the internet, came about, it was like, I remember about 94, 95, when most people will, starting to get on dial-up, and we just got our 14.4 modem, and we're all excited as shit. That kind of thing was insane, to where before the internet, how old are you?
I'll be 30 in November.
Okay, so you probably don't even know a world without the internet.
Not at all.
So before the internet, you had to, as a developer, waiting for HP to mail you off a damn floppy drive so you can put a driver in your thing would take weeks. And so that kind of stuff is crazy. It was nowadays seems so slow, but then eventually you're like, oh, I got this 14.4 modem. It only takes 2 hours to download it. It's like, it's crazy. But now everything is so fast, and we're built in this society of no one wants to talk to each other. We have to talk. I don't want to talk to you because it takes too long. I don't want to stand on the line with the lady with the check. I'll move to another line if I see someone pull out a checkbook, because it's 2 minutes. I don't want to wait,
Right, yeah,
So
it's
I
real
think
life buffering. I can't stand it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of like this day and age, and you have to learn to adopt to that. Some people won't adopt to it. It's cool. I mean, my parents are in their mid 80s, and They know about Bitcoin. They know my mom buys shit on eBay. My dad, they're on social media all the time. They do stuff. So they do that if someone will, help them along the way. Most people are more annoyed. I told myself for like 2 years, I'm gonna talk to anyone, tell everyone I possibly can about crypto, anyone I come across it, and then as of this year, January, I'm not talking to anybody. And so it's like, I'm in tough shit, man. Now everyone's coming to me, hey, you know that Bitcoin thing you told me about when it was like,
what is that?
it was like $400, and I'm like going, yeah, I do remember that. Good luck to you. I gotta go.
Right, I'm busy, man. Check out my website.
Yeah, check out my blog. Yeah, read all about it.
So you brought up the good point there with the internet, and I would love to talk about this before we wrap things up here. I'll give this as the last topic. What does the Internet of Things mean for mundane job markets? We're already seeing typical, I could say the dumb version of the Internet of Things already taking real life jobs at McDonald's when it comes to ordering food, or even autonomous delivery. I've seen that there's like some drone in New York that will deliver me pizza. It's really cool. So that takes away the delivery man
Amazon
job.
has already, they had made their first delivery with a drone in a very rural location.
Right. So what happens? But what happens when it goes past that, where these at least there's somebody behind that, right? There's a company, there's a person somewhere. When it's just a blockchain, there is no body, right? Maybe there's developers or something, but like, what happens when the Internet of Things is displacing the mundane jobs? What do we do? Like, where do dumb people get jobs?
Well, I'll tell you exactly, and you brought a key word in there, is dumb, is educate. If you want, learn. If you want to know more about something, like people, like when they were losing their jobs, well, I can't find a job, but you lost all these jobs. You didn't lose the job. The job was no longer needed. And then you need to re-educate yourself so you don't just crawl into the ground and die. So along the time, everyone has, like, if you had a car 30 years ago, it looks a lot fucking different than it does now. Everything grows, but for some reason or another, whether it be entitlement, whether it be like, I think that I put my time in and I shouldn't have to do this, and you progressively, when you get older, you think you have to get lazy. And fuck that. I don't want to do that. I want to learn more and more every day. Right. If I have to talk to someone, if I want to educate myself, the minute I heard about blockchain or Bitcoin, we were on that shit, as much as we can, to find out not only just monetary gains, but also technology. Whether it be blockchain or not, if someone is just sitting there and, like, say they lost their job, educate yourself, learn a new skill, learn a new trade, learn something else in the world that wasn't 20 years ago. Those type of things, that it just comes to, kind of get off your ass and, do these things. You have the internet. Most everybody out there has the internet.
The University of Google is free.
Yeah, get on there on Google and look at this, look at that. Are you kidding? I didn't go to college for any of the stuff that I know right now. Everything I did is because I don't fucking sleep. And I would rather just read, and I'd rather learn this shit. And I'm going, oh my God, when you have a chance to make something out of nothing and you create it, and it's like going, oh, this is like fucking not in fruition. It's here. This is amazing. That kind of stuff needs to be put into people's minds. And if they have to starve and suffer along the way in order for them to get off their ass and go do it, then it's a part of the process.
Yeah,
but
evolution
you don't have to be like
is designed by discomfort. If you're not discomfort, if you're comfortable, you'll never evolve. If you're in some way uncomfortable long enough, you'll adapt to it, and you'll either evolve over it, or you'll be numb to it. And
and myself, I mean, I love to fail. I love to learn. I love to be a point of, like you said, discomfort and pain. Because, one of the first businesses that I had, because I've been in the martial arts for years, one of the first businesses that I had is, I went and, when I was his age, 21 years old, I sold my truck off to the side of the street, and then I went and paid a guy for, my space rent, and I'm 6'4", and I slept for 2 years in a 6x6 little storage room in the back. So I slept in the fetal position for about 2 years because I wanted to be able to succeed with what I'm doing. And you can only do that if you free yourself from distraction. So a lot of the lack of focus that people have nowadays is becoming very evident now when all of a sudden you try to talk about Bitcoin, and they are so like geared and trained with blinders on that they have no idea that this other world exists. And so if they have to be thrust into the deep end and learn how to fucking swim, then that's what's going to happen.
I think as
jaded, but sorry.
No, I think as the Internet of Things comes around and people start to lose those mundane jobs, the janitorial jobs, to that Roomba that just does your job. And it charges itself. It empties itself. It cleans itself. It does everything on its own. There's nothing to pay for. It even does self-maintenance. It'll call its own little robot to fix itself. When that happens, I think the value of entertainment is going to go through the roof. I feel like the thing that we have that machines can't is the creative aspect of entertainment. I did see an article recently that AI did write a child's story, a very unique fantasy story, like Cinderella-esque, and it was completely unique, written by AI. But I feel like that personal interaction, like comedy, movies, like the entertainment industry is going to go bananas, especially because we have things like not just YouTube and Hulu and Netflix, but also streaming services like Steam It, where we're going to see people just live stream on DTube to get upvotes and make endless amounts of money because they're entertaining people that are otherwise... They're unemployed. They don't have a job because there's no job for them to do anymore. And now they have nothing but time to spend consuming entertainment. So that's where I think the attention economy is going to come into play. And that's what's going to birth this weird new entertainment economy that's going to have people like these YouTubers like me and even the gaming industry. We have kids that are playing video games for a living on Twitch. They're making more money on Twitch playing a video game than they are if they would have used their PhD they got in college. They actually don't use the PhD because it's not cost effective. It's more cost effective to entertain people by playing video games. So that's the future I'm seeing, is where our interactions with each other are going to be so valuable that that economy will blossom from it. Like earn.com. I can make money by replying to emails there.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, too, is the cookie cutter way people are being taught. Like my son, he went to UCSD, did the whole thing, and King came back, and then afterwards I'm going, why don't we just, instead of going for your master's, instead of progressing, why don't you just do this? You could learn a vast amount of knowledge doing what you're doing right now, but you're not stuck in a machine that is built 20 years ago, and then you don't know where to go from that point on. The minute you get out of college, you're 4 years behind technology. You're four years behind everybody. So
even if you took a major like I did, I studied math, computer science, a mix of those. The stuff that I learned there, it didn't even touch on blockchain or anything relating to that. It was a lot of baseline stuff, like you learn programming languages, you learn basic data structures, and you learn assembly, stuff like that. But those classes are offered, and a lot of the stuff for STEM is there so that you can build upon it via taking jobs and stuff like that, instead of going out on your own for the most part and learning new stuff yourself, or with some help.
That's funny you said that, though, because college is still, I feel, geared to getting people out into the job market to get a job, and not yet designed to create them yet. Like, we need people in college to leave college creating jobs. That's how people get jobs.
Create a company. And the thing is, that's what we have to kind of get out of that whole box of, like, go to school, get a job, have a house, get married.
Well, that's industrial education. It's designed for the industrial economy, the line worker education process.
Exactly. We need to be able to see a need and just go fucking do it. And to me, I think having that flexibility and that adaptiveness is really important, because if you do see something, I don't have time to sit there and screw around, because if I lose that opportunity, say either someone else is going to take it or it's going to be missed entirely. So I think right now, when you see that opportunity, like what you're doing, you went from what you were doing before, and you're like going, hey, this is someone that wants to watch this. I provide a good information source. Boom, you actually create a job. You create an industry from what you're doing, and then people could listen to you, be inspired, and going, you know what? I really don't need that 9-to-5 job. I don't need that. My son probably would never have a regular job, because he either works with me or we've been traveling for the past couple years.
See, that's the thing. A lot of people are overemployed. I was just talking to my little brother yesterday, and he works like 60 or 70 hours a week. And I was like, Rob, that's my brother's name. I was like, Rob, why are you working this much? And he's like, honestly, I don't know. I pay a lot more in taxes when I get 70 hours because, it's a lot of overtime. So it's actually not really financially beneficial for him to work the extra hours. I'm like, maybe 10 hours overtime, fine, let's do the math. But people are actually being overworked to the point to where they're making more money than they need, and then they're finding a need for all the excess money that doesn't make sense. They try to make sense of it, right? They're like, well, I'm making all this money, you don't have time to enjoy anything, so you buy frivolous shit like an Xbox and barely touch it because you're at work for 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's insane, man. I got to wrap things up.
No problem.
Any final word? Let people know where they can find you guys, what you guys are all about at cryptocoingrowth.com.
Yeah, you can go to cryptocoingrowth.com and see, either we have a large feed there. We feed about, 15 different sites into our site. So we have roughly about 20,000 articles on our site already. We do videos, and also we do interviews with all the companies and new projects. So you can go to our Instagram at cryptocoingrowth, and also on our Twitter at cryptocoingrow. And so you can pretty much find us anywhere. Just look cryptocoingrowth and you'll find us.
All right, guys, check out the links in the description box below, and it will take you directly to the site and everything. All right, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the show. This was a great fireside chat. I hope you guys viewing this enjoyed. If you did, please pound that thumbs up button, click subscribe, and flick the alert bell right next to subscribe, and have a day.
All right, thanks, Ken.